tremendous looking trophy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Platinum Explosion, the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanas. It is me, Ciaran Marchant, and I have killed Dylan once again. He is no more. This time he will stay dead. Probably not. I'll probably ask him to come back next week, but whatever. Today I am joined by one Jono.
Shaboy.
How you going, Jono?
I'm really good. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Pretty good. I'm really good.
And the third member of our trio, equivalent to the police, is one Ashley Hobley.
Hey everybody, am I Sting?
Pretty good too.
Jono's clearly Sting in this trio. Let's be honest.
Yep. Well, just turn off that red light.
Here we go. Welcome everybody to Platinum Explosion. We're gonna chat about a couple different things this week. We're gonna get down and dirty. First, I'm gonna break some rules. What has everybody been playing this week? Ashley Hobley, what are you doing?
Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which I think we'll get into a little bit later.
Yes, we do.
Yes. And I also picked up Madden this week, just on a whim. Nice. Madden 18.
That's the curse where Tom Brady's on the cover. So
the Patriots are definitely going to play terrible this year.
They're going to play really badly.
Yeah.
Tweet at Lord Empire.
Yeah,
it's funny those cover curses. Like,
it is the weirdest.
The
NBA as well.
Like, the players don't get hurt necessarily. They do sometimes, but usually they end up on a different team within 12 months.
or before the game comes out this year.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah. And even I enjoy that. Actually, speaking of 2K, I enjoy their Twitter at the minute where they're like posting pictures and be like, awkward.
Yeah.
They posted Kyrie in their stats and he's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Jono, what have you been playing, sir?
I also have been playing Lost Legacy. That's why I'm on this podcast. But also Thimbleweed Park, which I'd be excited to talk about at some stage too.
Definitely. We'll get into that. But we're going to dive straight into Lost Legacy. But do not go anywhere, Jack. Stay listening to this podcast because this is completely spoiler-free. We're going to try our best to just give you our general inputs about the game and really go through and give you what we think, what our opinions are without actually breaking anything or ruining the story for you. So I have actually played through all of Lost Legacy over on stream over at twitch.tv/Explosion Network. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot like Uncharted is. I agree with some comments that I've seen being made that it is the middle portion of an Uncharted game. It is that middle section where you're missing out on some of the build-up and some of the conclusion, but it is still a really good experience and a whole experience. What did you guys think?
Yeah, it felt like a couple of missing chapters in Uncharted 4 or something. Yeah, that's definitely the way it played. I mean, it felt exactly like Uncharted 4. It played exactly the same way. The characters were great. Chloe is great. Nadine is all right. Yeah, she's got some motive issues, and she changes. Some things change pretty rapidly, but yeah. And it was a pretty solid villain as well. He was all right.
Yeah, I really liked the villain.
And I really liked the setting. The Indian theme through the whole thing was really interesting. All the history and mythology. History.
What about you, Jono?
Yeah, I mean, being a DLC, it was always going to be shorter than the other Uncharted, so I've heard that criticism a fair bit and kind of been like, yeah, fair point, but I don't think it takes anything away, and there certainly wasn't any expectation that it was going to be as long or as full as a full Uncharted game, so that makes sense. As for what I thought of the game, I loved it, and I'd recommend it to anyone that's a fan of Uncharted. A lot of people said Uncharted 4 was too long. I didn't think that, but if you're one of those people, even better, this is a fair bit shorter than Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing I find, and I've seen a lot of people bring up the length of this game, the interesting thing is, if you put against Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, it's reasonably about the same time. It's maybe missing a couple hours here and there, but the general playthroughs and the average times, it's roughly about the same.
If you do everything in this game, like everything, it'll probably be just a couple of hours under. But yeah,
that was it. My playthrough, I think, took about 5.5 to 6 hours in the end. And I've seen the average seems to be 7 to 6.
Yeah, I got about 7.5.
How long did you guys take?
Yeah, I think mine was 7 or 8. But as I was going for a lot of the trophies, so I was replaying certain chapters.
Just enjoying the story, and there's a section in the game where I'm like, oh, I could see myself spending an extra hour and a half doing this
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, it just depends on what you're doing Uncharted for. If you're doing Uncharted for the story, it probably won't be as long as what you expect. But I really enjoyed it. I was actually, one of my points is I really enjoyed the Indian setting, the setting of India, just because it was almost a bit refreshing where, Uncharted got to the point in the last couple of games where it was such a globe-trotting experience of you were bouncing all over the place and there was so much going on and so many different landscape changes and stuff, which probably for Uncharted 4, that was a really good palette freshener, palette cleanser, because you're going to different locations. But I really enjoyed that it was all the same thing with all the same style of architecture and landscapes, so to speak.
Yeah. Ash mentioned the setting, and that was one of the things I really liked about it as well. I'm not sure that anything has been as beautiful as the environments in this game. Like some of the landscapes are just stunning, and the ruins look as good as anything else in any of the other Uncharted games, with the the growth and the deterioration over time. I really love that aspect of the setting, and I think, as you said, having it in one place builds a lot of character, and there's a story. The ruins and all the different locations kind of tell a story as you go along, with all the the statues and idols and that kind of thing. With the Indian mythology and stuff.
I found it really interesting, especially with Indian mythology. For me personally, it's not something that I know a lot about, whereas with some of the other stuff they've covered already, I've known a fair portion already, so it was a new learning experience, and to discover some of the myths and legends of Indian heritage and stuff is really interesting to me personally.
Yeah, and going back to the length, did you guys feel like there was any part of this game that dragged, or did you think it was just you go through it and it was all kind of well paced in that regard?
Yeah, it was pretty well paced. Probably the open world section, the open-ish section, it could have dragged if you was looking in every single corner for treasures and that sort of thing, but I didn't find it too bad. Yeah, but
would it be wrong of me to drop a really small hint? A really small hint. Would it be, if you're playing this game, if you're starting this game, you haven't started yet, there's a section where you have a map, go to the question mark first, and it'll make the game after I went to the question mark last, and then I went, I really wish I'd done this first. And it was part of the reason why I didn't continue to do other stuff in the game.
I don't know if I went to the question mark at all. Did you have to go there?
You didn't have to, it was optional. It was one of the things where you saw the area and then there's this question mark, and you could optionally go over to the question mark, and the question mark did something, but I'll go deeper into that in our discussion later on, and there will be later this week, we will be having a spoiler discussion, so if you're listening to this going, God damn it guys, can you talk about something that I care about, that I played the game, then we will do that later in that discussion. But this is just to give our thoughts. What do people think of the map? I felt the map slowed down the game. Is the only thing. My only criticism that slowed down the game was.
Yeah, it was a bit. The animation
mechanic?
was a bit slow.
Yeah.
Well, there was actually a point I saw on Twitter where somebody was like, "How cool is it that if you would like to angle the camera over properly?" The map in our hands was the exact map you could see. It had every detail on it. It had the red little cursor of your character and where your character is. And the devs actually came out and said, hey, just so you know, for the map screen, all we do is we zoom in on that map. We don't actually load anything different.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
I was like, that's awesome. They're like, we just zoom in there so you can see it. But if you look, it's got every detail.
It's a little unrealistic. I don't think I'd get a real red cursor in real life. But
it was a bit weird when I saw a red marker as to where my location was on a paper map. I was like,
yeah.
Really?
Imagine if they didn't have that
paper by Google
marker there, though. You would be like, I have no idea where I am. And then you're looking around for a landmark, there's a giant cliff. I guess I'm there.
That would have extended the game by a couple hours.
Yeah. You need a compass,
Question for people. Did you think that open world section better or worse than Uncharted 4's? I thought it was better. I actually believe
I did as well, because it was just
you knew where you're going as well.
Yeah. It was kind of go wherever you feel like, and you didn't have to go to a certain point in any order, and it just felt like you I guess, what's the word? I can't really think of the word I'm looking for, but you could just kind of stumble across something and be like, oh, this is where I am, and it's pointing me into another direction, regardless of what order, I think.
Yeah, in Uncharted 4, I felt like I accidentally stumbled on where I was meant to go Whereas this, I felt like I.
Is that the design though?
sense.
Is it meant to be like that?
Yeah, I guess, but yeah.
I guess in Uncharted 4, in the open world section, I felt that it was one of those fake open worlds where it was open world, but the map design and the design of the character and the design of where everything was placed kind of tunneled you into the locations it wanted you to go to. It wasn't so much you had free reign. It was you felt like you had free reign, but you still got to the places you need to in a
I think in Uncharted 4 there was a verticality where to get to this section you had to go up, and then that locked off other parts of the map. Whereas in Lost Legacy, it's not like that at all. You can kind of go anywhere. You can return to anywhere. You can. Yeah. I kept thinking, if I don't do this bit now, I won't be able to come back. But you could always come back, and that was something that was really cool.
Yep.
Without going into too many spoilers for this section, how do you think the set pieces are for this game compared to other Uncharted's? What did you think of the set pieces for you, this DLC?
Pretty disappointing. I mean, like I said, I love the game, and just reflecting on the set pieces, they weren't as memorable as you would hope them to be compared to other Uncharted's. Like, if you're just looking at it on paper, they're really good, but they're very familiar as well. And there was nothing mind-blowing. There was nothing, like, unique to me compared... Like, I don't know if that's a spoiler to say that there's nothing unique, but that was how I felt.
There was one moment where I honestly was like, oh, not again. Oh, really? We're doing this again? Okay, let me get through this section as quick as possible, because...
They weren't long, though. Like, there was only one long set piece. The other ones were pretty quick.
Yeah.
Ashley, what about you? What did you think
Yeah,
of the set pieces?
I guess that's what you'd expect from DLC. It's not going to live up to the full game's set pieces, but echoing what a lot of people have said, it did feel like the middle section of an Uncharted game where there wasn't that sort of scene, and it was a bit
And it's very much a game where it understands that you're playing this game because you like Uncharted.
Yeah, totally.
It instantly, it doesn't try and teach you again. It just says, okay, here we go. If you played Uncharted 4, you know pretty much... No, I'm going to say you know every mechanic in this game.
Yep.
You already know if you've played
there's
Uncharted
one mechanic that's new.
There's one single little tiny mechanic that is new, but pretty much everything else you already know.
Yeah.
The only big difference is in gameplay. There are a couple new guns.
I didn't even notice.
There is a couple. There is one gun that I noticed, and I was really happy with it, and it improved the stealth sections of the game by tenfold if you found it. It isn't something that was like pushed in your face, like, here, take this. It was you randomly come up on a gun, and you're like, oh, that's actually pretty useful. Did anybody play it on... So everybody's just played it once, so nobody's played it on Crushing just yet?
Not yet, no.
Not yet. I'm going to go back, because my disappointment is I have a beautiful 4K TV, and I didn't play on that beautiful 4K TV because I was streaming. So I have to I'm going to change my PlayStation over at some point and play it again, because I've heard this game is one of the most beautiful 4K, not total 4K, but HDR experiences you could have on the PlayStation currently.
Well... So do you think they've visually improved since Uncharted 4?
I think they've managed to build this with the new technology in mind. Because I don't think they would have built Uncharted 4 understanding where or how quickly
obviously
PlayStation would...
Yeah, the PS4 Pro hadn't come out yet.
Yeah, it hadn't been come out yet, and I don't know what the developers knew of the game, because obviously during development, they wouldn't have known anything about it. When they're doing Lost Legacy, they developed it with the PlayStation Pro in mind, obviously. So I think it utilizes some of its power and its visuals a lot better than Uncharted 4 does. Don't get me wrong, Uncharted 4 is still a fantastic looking game, but even playing on my normal HD TV, I was like... God, this is another level. Like, even stuff like the photo mode in this game, is fantastic. I never use photo modes in games, but I was finding myself actually using it to take pictures, and the array of facial expressions and body movement poses you could put the characters in made it so you could obviously customize and really capture your own moments.
I want to give a shout out to Naughty Dog for the turnaround on this game, because as much as people say, "Oh, it's not a full Uncharted," it's if there's any disappointment there, the fact that we only had to wait like 12 months for this game is pretty amazing. Like,
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone else doing that in that amount of time.
Not to this level with those sort of graphics and that sort of stuff.
And like there's a lot of reused assets like the Jeep and other, like, the weapons and that kind of thing. But this environments in themselves are stunning to look at, and they couldn't be quick to put together. So they've done a great job.
Any closing comments about this game? Sell the people on this game, guys.
Buy this game. I mean, it's only
$44 at Target.
Yeah.
No matter what, if you've been holding out on this game but you're a fan of Uncharted, just buy the game.
Yeah.
If you're holding out and you're in the position where you can buy the game and you love that Uncharted, but you're like, I'm going to hold off just to see if it's good or bad, just buy the game already. Just go get it. It's fantastic. Yes, it's the DLC, but it is more of what you already love.
Yeah.
And some people could say it's more, but it's
more of what. Why wouldn't you want more? It's like ice cream.
Exactly.
It's the best exclusive on PlayStation, so here's a bit more.
And one final. What would you guys feel? Because for me, the gap between, even though Uncharted 1 to 3, that came out in a ridiculous time frame. Mm-hmm. For any AAA title, I think it was like 2 years.
Even those first three, they're all like a couple of years apart.
So that's ridiculous. What do you guys feel for the release schedule for the Uncharted franchise going forward should be? Would you prefer it to get these smaller snippets more regularly, or would you prefer to get a bigger game and have to wait longer? What would you?
I think one more of these would be great, and then put it to rest for a little bit. Focus on Last of Us 2.
Yeah,
because I think there's an obvious game to be made with Sully and someone. Like, that would be whether it's Sully and Sam or Sully and, I don't know, Cutter or whoever else is out there.
Or Sully back in the day.
Yeah, or just
I was thinking
young Sully and young Drake to tie in with that movie.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. And that was one of the things that we'll talk a lot more about in the spoiler video that we're doing after this. But seeing more of Chloe, and a character that we already knew, but learning so much more about her, and just seeing this side of the world that exists in Uncharted away from Drake was really cool, because like there's all these references to characters' histories in the other Uncharted games, and whether they have a personal history with other characters and the adventures that they've had, but we actually get to play through one of those right here, which is really cool.
Yep, definitely. And even just as a closing note, Nadine, who I was not a fan of in Uncharted 4, because I was like, why are you here? Who are you? What are you doing? In this game, I was like, oh, okay, I'm on board. There's a few questionable things, but I'm on board with the character now.
Yeah, and great performances too from
definitely
Stella from
Laura Bailey and the Aussie Indian English chick that plays Chloe. She is an Aussie.
Discussion.
Yeah.
But
I will definitely
that is all we're going to talk about right here on Platinum Explosion about Lost Legacy. Once again, go buy it. Please go buy it. Make Naughty Dog make more of this.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
If you've played the game and you want to hear our thoughts on the actual game as a whole, please check out later this week. I believe it was Wednesday.
Or Thursday.
Depending on what we do. You know how we are at the Explosion Network. Check out our full spoiler discussion on the game and see what Jono, Ashley, and myself truly think. So, Jono, you mentioned to me just a few moments ago that you've been playing one Thimbleweed Park, and I witnessed you playing Thimbleweed Park.
You sure did.
I did at
twitch.tv
/Explosion Network. It was a great time. If you were a cool kid, you were there too.
Yeah. And it's a great game. What do you want to know?
It is a fantastic game. Do you want to go into it?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this as like a topic a few weeks ago when I hosted, because I was really excited about it, and I'm not disappointed even the smallest bit. As a fan of the genre of the the 90s adventure games, the point and click, the scum system for those in the know, it is a true homage to that era. The humor it's probably funnier than any of those games, because it's got modern humor and a bit more modern pacing, and there's so many references to those games and Easter eggs and things that give you a chuckle along the way. And on top of that, it's gorgeous. The graphics are amazing. For pixel art, it's like pixel art on crack. It's so good. It's like you've seen it, Ciaran. Like it's
it is pretty.
It's something that going from talking about Uncharted to going to talk about Thimbleweed Park. Both are very beautiful in their own unique ways.
That's right. And if you look at the Kickstarter page for Thimbleweed Park, because this was Kickstarted, they had something like 15,000 backers. The original, I guess, when you put up a Kickstarter, you have like your project plans, and here's what we're trying to do, and here's some screenshots from the game. If you look at that, that's like normal pixel art, and that was already looking pretty cool, but they must have got so much money that they were like, we can do so much better, and it looks amazing. Some of the lighting effects, some of the animation, like the different scrolling and that kind of thing that's happening, yeah, it's impressive what you can do with such a retro art style, definitely. And I'm only probably halfway through, but really enjoying the trophy list, really enjoying the story of the game, the mood, the humor.
How far into it are you?
The characters. Probably like 6 or 7 hours, I think. And I've probably got another few to go, at least, it seems. And there is it's a murder mystery for people that don't know. I think it's very Twin Peaks inspired.
It looks very X-Files.
Yeah, you're in like a very small town, and you're trying to solve a murder. And you pretty much have to do everything along the way. To find murder weapon, you have to find, like the guy's wallet that's been stolen. You have to try and figure out who's done this. But there's also these like B plots that are running through the town with characters that have gone missing or characters that have their own little backstory, and it's all, I guess, interwoven as these things tend to be in those games. And there's multiple playable characters that you can switch to at any time. Kind of GTA 5 style, and they can interact with each other, and they have different abilities because of their unique character traits, I guess. So yeah, there's a lot to it for something that on paper it just looks like a simple 90s throwback, but it's so much more than that. And I think Ron Gilbert and his team have crushed it. And I mean, this game came out in March or something, so there's people out there that probably know this already, but for a lot of us, I think we've probably been either waiting for PS4 or we didn't know about it because we're not in the PC gaming master race.
It's been an interesting couple of weeks. Just to take a step back quickly from the discussion about Thimbleweed Park, it's been an interesting couple of weeks on Platinum Explosion of discussions about games that one community knows full well and then being ported over. Like last week, you guys discussed Undertale.
Yeah.
On Undertale, there was me listening to that podcast going, "You guys are idiots. I've played that game ages ago. What the hell?" And then this week, it's the same thing where we're gonna have PC. If we have people who are PC members of that PC community, they're probably going, "Why are you talking about Thimbleweed Park? It's been out for ages."
Yeah, I mean, it's only 6 months or something compared to what was Undertale like 2 years ago.
2 years.
Yeah.
But back to Thimbleweed Park. The writing in that game impresses me so goddamn much. The how self-aware it's written, and the jokes that are written throughout it are great, but also how aware of its audience and how its audience will play games is amazing. Because as an adventure game player, and you'll know this as well, Jono, as soon as you've played a couple of them, you know the tropes and you know the kind of things that the games will do to try and make you solve
the logic,
a puzzle. The logic. You understand the logic. And then the game seems to use that logic against you at different points, because you'll try something that works, and then just like some wise-ass remark will come out after it, and it just seems very aware that it understands its players, and it understands what you've been through already.
Definitely. And it remembers jokes and stuff and items that were in the previous games. Like I mentioned on the stream, there's a chainsaw, and it's called like the Chainsaw of Disappointment, because there was a chainsaw in Maniac Mansion that you could get, but there was no no petrol for it for the whole game, so it was just kind of a red herring. And then you'll find an item that's called like, a bag of red herring, and he'll be like, "Oh, this looks like a red herring," and it's just useless. It doesn't do anything. So yeah, there's a lot of poking at the fourth wall. There's a lot of talking about how you need. Make sure you save your game before you walk in through this, door, or just little things like that kind of give you a little bit of a chuckle. I hope you play it soon, Ciaran.
I will. It's on my list of. It's on my backlog that is ever growing. And
It
makes
is
me
ever
cry
growing.
every time I look at it. So that's the games of this week that we've been playing. I've been playing Lost Legacy. I've been finally finished Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yay.
Finally, that goddamn game nearly drew me to insanity, but I'll be starting Kingdom Hearts 2 really quickly. So those are the games. Dude, people gotta buy them. Buy Thimbleweed Park. Buy Lost Legacy. Show these games you support.
They're not expensive.
They're
At
not.
all.
No.
They're not. They're good, cheap value games. There's some really good value games coming out in the next couple of weeks. So show developers that making these half normal price games totally worth it for them.
I love it.
So let's dive into some of the news of the week. Ashley, I hear that you like Final Fantasy characters.
They're alright.
I also hear that you like assassins that wear hoods.
They're pretty cool.
Like, boy, do I have some good news for you.
Oh, great!
This week, Final Fantasy 15 gets DLC to give the main character Noctis Assassin's Creed clothes.
That makes sense.
Does it?
No, it doesn't.
No, not at all. As a very surprising news article came out this week that Ubisoft has partnered with Square Enix to collaborate and give each of the games DLC relevant to the other game. So this week is the first part where if you obtain the dream egg from the Moogle Chocobo Carnival event, you will be gifted an assassin's outfit for Noctis. The very next day. My goodness. And then there'll be an Assassin's Festival, apparently. What is going on?
This has happened before, hasn't it? Aren't there other games where costumes from other games pop up?
Possibly?
Apparently,
I don't
reading
know.
through the article before, apparently Metal Gear 4, I think,
Yeah.
with another fan. With one of the Assassin's Creed games, you could get Raiden in Raiden costume in Assassin's Creed. And
Raiden. Yeah.
Raiden, sorry.
Right.
I don't know Metal
Let's
Gear,
call it
but
what it really means.
That's
and,
okay.
something similar in the Metal
Yeah,
Gear Solid
that
games
sounds
as well.
familiar. And I think there's been Assassin's Creed games where you can get like outfits from earlier games. Like you can get the Altair costume.
Altair.
Altair.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Jono. Get it right.
I felt like that Altair costume was in a different franchise altogether, but I
I
can't remember.
I can't remember, though. But somebody at Twitter will tweet at me and like, you idiots, this is what you're thinking about. Like,
I'm looking it up now.
Okay. But
There was a lot of crossover in Little Big Planet.
that's true. There was an Assassin's Creed costume in Little Big Planet. You could get one. For,
I can confirm that the Altair costume is in Metal Gear Solid 4: Sons of the Patriot.
Right. Okay.
Probably in the opening scene when you're in like Afghanistan or wherever.
Assassin's Creed blending in with Metal Gear Solid. Yes, it's completely different, but I can the thought process kind of goes to me.
There is precedent though.
There is somewhat, but a Japanese RPG and Assassin's Creed that are coming together. What is going on? Stop.
How did this even come
Please.
up?
I don't know. Who was the person? I want to know, A, who came to who first? But B, how did that conversation start? Is there like
It's
a
got to
devs
be like
Tinder?
a drunk E3.
Yes.
It might be a drunk E3, or is there like a devs Tinder where like Ubisoft swiped right on like Square Enix and they matched, and they're like, "Wow, we matched. We better collaborate. How are we gonna do?" Like, I've just made a new app, devs Tinder. Let's do it. Let's see
Yeah.
what happens. Which monster companies do we bring down and rise up?
It had to be two people that were close, and they were like, "Wouldn't it be cool?" Yeah, I think that's how it happened.
Wouldn't it be really cool? Yeah. You know what? Now that I'm reading this article that I'm reading from Kotaku, it even says down below, this is collaborated with other games such as Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, that's where I read it.
Yeah. We should really
Pays
read
to
articles before we.
Pays to read,
talk about
people.
them.
I was just reading the press release. Moving along to something, a bit more serious, a bit more topical. Let's get down and serious. The developers at Blizzard have apologised to the country of Australia for the indecencies it has caused against us.
Yeah.
If you did not know, recently there was a Junkertown map released or displayed for... No, it was released. It was released, I believe. Don't you just tweet at me if I'm wrong. It was released, and it's in Australia in the Overwatch universe. And by goodness, was it a travesty. There was a sign for a takeout joint. It is not called takeout, it is takeaway here. As the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanics, we will not stand for this.
They apologised. It's okay.
They did apologise. They did come out and say sorry. We won't mention that they also did something much worse than that, but it obviously somebody wasn't thinking over at Blizzard. Somebody was not thinking at Blizzard. First they call it takeaways, and then they try and resemble Overwatch history to maybe some history in Australia that isn't appropriate. But I'm glad that these people, the developers, are growing a sense of humour enough to come out and do stuff like this.
The apology?
Yes, to come out and say sorry for calling it a takeout, which is a travesty.
It's funny because they apologise for the thing that's kind of hilarious, and then they also had to apologise for something fairly serious as well. Which
we don't know what we're talking about, just to go into it a little bit. They, at one point in one of the preview trailers, I believe, there is a line that says, they tried to take our land and replace us with machines, which is awfully close to some in the history of Indigenous Australia that is not really a topic that Australians talk about ever.
We definitely don't joke about it.
We definitely don't joke about it, and it's something that's just not spoken about normally in that kind of context. So
there were no machines though.
I think they used the takeaway sign as a bit of a comedy shield of, we're doing this thing that's kind of funny, but we also made a really big mistake at the same time. Danny
O'Dwyer had a good way to sum this up as an Irishman on Kind of Funny Games Daily. He was talking about when your culture's represented and you're underrepresented generally, you want it to be accurate. Yeah. So he was talking about Skellige in The Witcher 3, even though it's like a fantasy land. It was really important to Irish people that they pronounced words properly because they're based on the Irish. And for us, if we're going to be in a game, we want them to get it right.
Yes, definitely. What about you, Ash? Did you see this story before?
Yeah, I saw it. Didn't really care too much. Yeah.
Where is your patriotism? If that's a word. I think it's a word. Where is your...
Why do they even call it takeout? That doesn't...
Because you take it
outside.
You take it out. Americans call it takeout, apparently. They have some
you want to take
Chinese.
it away home.
So you take it away, exactly.
It makes more sense.
God damn it.
There was another thing people were upset about. When I say people, I mean NATO. He was upset that they gave that character a cricket outfit.
Well,
as an Australian, going back to when Overwatch was first released, when I played as Junkrat, the first time I played as Junkrat, and he said cobber in a video game, I know no joke or no word of a lie. I honestly had a moment of pride. I was like, God damn it, yes, we've done it, Australia. We've done it.
Well, isn't there a big online petition that wants him to have like a Bunnings uniform?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think
that would be
Bunnings
awesome.
barbecue. Yeah.
I've seen that. I'm glad Australia's getting represented in some way.
Yeah.
Now, on Ashley Hobley.
Yes.
I hear you have been researching the world of EB Games and the changes that have happened at EB Games recently.
Yeah, so this week there was a weird story that came out, like it broke, that EB Games is going to do like a rental service called Swap and Play. It currently is only running in South Australia, but for $19.95 a month, you can rent in high air quotes any pre-owned game, and you can swap it as many times as you want. Before originally it came out that the news was going to be any game under $50, but apparently they've clarified that it's any pre-owned game, which is pretty good.
That's actually really
that
awesome.
Is a really great deal.
Yeah, because I was going to.
There's no way it lasts.
The original headline or story that it was under $50. When I saw that, my interest level dropped completely because that's at EB Games. Pretty much everything's $50 or more.
Yeah.
But yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I mean, not sense, but it's got a lot of appeal, I think, compared to what it originally sounded like.
Yeah. It's kind of, they're capitalizing on the unofficial EB Games 7-day rentals.
Yeah.
With
People
EB
were
Games return policy.
returning their stock.
Return it for full price for 7 days. That was just the joke. I don't see it working though.
No?
I do not see it working.
Not viable.
I don't know where you two, if it's a thing still in your town, but games rentals in rural Victoria, not a thing anymore.
No.
Because it loses way too much money. I worked in a store that rented games at one point. It's a terrible business. It is not worth it whatsoever. The chances of you, for EB Games, it
makes sense because they've got the games there anyway. I mean,
they've got the games there anyway, but it'll be interesting to see what happens the moment people don't return games or
they keep paying $19.95 a month. That's what happened. Well, I guess
is it you're only paying $19.95 when you start the thing?
Yeah, so you've got to commit for 2 months, and then it's $19.95 every month.
Commit for 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how long it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out in South Australia. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I imagine it'd be good for families and that sort of thing. A big seller over the school holidays and that sort of thing. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Game rentals were a massive part of my childhood.
Yeah.
I had a lot of games, but we would rent games every school holidays, and even in between school holidays as well. It would just be a weekend where maybe it was winter and there wasn't much happening. We'd go down and rent a Sega Genesis or Sega Mega Drive game, and that was huge because games were expensive back then, more than they are now. And even renting games, I remember it got to a point where it was $10 for a weekly rental
3 nights or something.
Of a PS1 game. And I never, how Metal Gear Solid's one of my favorite games ever. Never owned it except until I bought it on Vita, the PS1 port, because I rented it 3 times and finished it every time. I pretty much platinumed it without the platinum back then, but did it through rental. So yeah, I mean, if it becomes a thing again, that would be pretty cool, because I mean, a lot of people still don't have the money to spend on games, and I don't know the repercussions as an industry. Pre-owned games are a separate thing altogether, but can you see if this was somehow a huge successful thing for EB, do you think it would hurt the bottom line?
I don't think it'll hurt the bottom line. Let's be honest. Pre-owned games are EB Games' bread and butter.
Yeah, that's where they make all their money.
It's where they make all their money, and I've known people in the industry, especially in EB Games, their staff their key performance indicators are not selling new games. It's how many games you get traded in a day and how many pre-owned games you sell in a day. Those are the numbers they care about. That's all they care about is those numbers of how many pre-owns we get in, how many do we push out, which is interesting and crazy.
But you know how people say buying pre-owned games is bad for the industry? Do you think that could apply to the success of rentals if it does come back?
I think it would have nil to no effect. I think it would just stay the same. I mean, the people who are buying pre-owned games are the people who are trading them back in and then buying more pre-owned games.
I honestly think that it's probably a really good thing for EB Games. They're getting ahead of what looks like is going to happen, because we've already seen in America what's happening to their quote-unquote brick-and-mortar stores, where they're closing down or they're not as common. And we have the monster that is Amazon coming right on our doorstep. There's already the plans, there's already the Amazon is coming. It's a thing. That's definitely happening in Australia. So EB Games is getting out ahead of it and preparing for that possibility that Australians start purchasing their games and their content through Amazon.
Yeah, that's definitely definitely something that could be playing on their minds. I mean, it's a great way for them to keep getting people to come back in. If people need to come back in and swap their games in, they can go in and look at all the toys and t-shirts and other stuff they sell in store as well. So
definitely. All right. EB Games, you do you guys. You do you. The platinum.
They always do.
They do.
Any South Australian listeners, let us know what your thoughts are.
Let us know.
Tell
us. Go rent a game. Tell us what you're renting.
Do we have any?
I don't know.
I know Drew's.
Are you there?
Drew's in South Australia.
We'll pause and we'll insert South Australian here.
I'm a South Australian, actually.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, that's it.
There we go.
Yeah, that's it. There we go.
I just don't live there, so I don't know. I can't really claim it too
He's
much.
an import. He escaped.
Yep.
He
Got out of
escaped.
Adelaide.
Heaps good.
All right. Would you fine gentlemen like to get into a little section called hashtag Every Trophy Counts?
Every trophy counts.
Every trophy does count, and I am remembering the memory of Dylan Blight keeping the trophy tradition alive.
Maybe
R.I.P.
Let's- Rest in peace, Dylan.
Condolences to the Blights.
We will miss you until next Monday at about 6 o'clock, where I message you and say, "Hey, do you want to do Plat this week?" Because I can't be bothered. Coming out, look over on the PSN profiles. One of the big stories I want to talk about first: Destiny 2's trophies popped
Yeah.
over the last week, and my God, if you're a platinum trophy hunter, do you need to pick up Destiny at some point? Because its trophies are super easy.
Yeah.
Have either of you guys looked at these
No,
trophies
I
yet?
haven't.
Nah.
It's
Hit me with it.
literally just... I think the only thing that looks like it would take some time would either be... So, what there is for Destiny 2... Destiny 2, let me just find it. Destiny 2 has 11 golds and 2 silvers.
And
No
a
and
platinum.
1
bronze?
platinum.
No bronze.
No bronzes at all.
14 trophies.
14 trophies in total. All it is like max each class you get to level 20. Complete each of the raids. Complete the raids on the hardest difficulty, and collect 15 exotic guns. Which that'll be the 15 exotic weapons and armor. That'll probably take a while, but everything else looks completely doable. And it's a good list of a lot of golds, and it looks like an easy platinum. Like, not an easy platinum, but it's one of those
Doable,
platinums that's
yeah.
going to take time to put in. But I'm sure
Need
there'll
to
be...
put in the work.
You just got to put in the work, and you've just got to... I think it's one of those... it's one of those games where you've got to just put in time,
Yeah.
and you'll get it eventually. Are you okay, Jono?
Yeah. I was just thinking about this podcast that I do. The thing that's interesting is that the first Destiny had a really hard trophy list. Is that right?
Yeah, it seems to have gone the other way. Yeah, Destiny. I can remember Destiny 1's trophy list was ridiculous.
Yeah, because I know like people, as they do, putting in hundreds of hours into that game, and then looking at the trophy list, and they were nowhere near the platinum.
Yeah.
Similar to Overwatch, it's just whether it's they've wised up and thought maybe more people will play with an easier trophy list, or maybe they just want to
Possibly.
reward
Like, it's just one of those
people that
things
play.
where
Yeah.
it looks doable. It obviously they're gonna eventually add more in, but this is what you have to do to get the platinum, so it's not hard whatsoever.
This has honestly increased my interest in the game. So
Exactly, and it frustrates that I'm gonna have a little rant here. I cancelled my pre-order on PlayStation, and I've got Destiny coming on the other system. Because none of my
What? You have the other system? What are you doing hosting this show?
I've never talked about it ever. Superior hardware. I cancelled my pre-order on PlayStation because I was like, nobody from Explosion Network's gonna play it. There's no point me buying it. Since this trophy list has come out, Tom has said, "Oh, I think I might actually look into buying this." Dylan has said, "I'm far more interested in this game now." Jono has now said, "I'm more interested in this game now." My God, I hate you all.
Nick will
You're gonna
probably
drive
play
me-
now.
yeah.
He doesn't
What was
care
that,
about
Ash?
trophies, but Nick will probably decide he's going to play
Yeah,
it now.
Nick will play now because there's more of it. Oh my God.
Look, the first Destiny I was way late to because I didn't get a PS4 until like March 2015. So I just didn't play Destiny. I wasn't interested in it. And I got Destiny with my PS4 and I played it for like, 10 hours. I didn't play with any of my friends. But if this has an effect like there was with The Division when that came out, like The Division wasn't like a super amazing game, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun playing with friends. So if it is a situation where everyone's playing this thing, I can see myself plonking down the cash for it if it's released in a period where there's not tons of,
It comes out in 10 days.
it's that close.
September
Yeah,
6th.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
Okay,
can't wait to
well,
play it.
scratch everything I just said because I'll be playing 2K for most of the next couple of months. But
Scratch it. NBA. Got to bounce that ball.
yeah, but hey,
That's
if
simple.
it's on sale in the next
It's one of those games. I'll say,
yeah.
it's one of those games you've got to play on the bubble. You either got to play on the bubble when it's first released, where everybody's into it, or I played Destiny 1. I played Destiny 1 like super late though, so all the content was out and it was awesome. I didn't go through that horrible vanilla period that was there. But it was like Division. I've always wanted to play the Division, but I never played when it first came out, and I don't want to. I have no interest in going back to it now because
right. Yeah, Tom was saying it's in his backlog today, and I was like, yeah, I feel like you kind of had to be there.
You had to be on the bubble when people were playing the game. But on saying that, Destiny, I feel like Destiny has held its audience really well.
Yeah,
Destiny
that's true.
1 has still got a great audience, and hopefully Destiny 2...
But is it an audience that can let new people in?
That's what we'll
that's
find
really
out.
interesting.
That's what we'll find out. And we'll see if they've learnt, if Bungie has learnt the mistake of vanilla Destiny, where there was no endgame content, and there was literally just people sat outside of a cave for hours on end getting free loot, or if they've actually built the endgame for this game. So we'll find out on September 6th.
Yeah.
So that was our first trophy list of the week. Now I've got Dylan's dying wish was for me to talk about this game. Dylan's dying wish, and I'm going to fulfill it for my friend, one of my best friends.
Who you murdered?
Who I murdered.
He's very sad about it.
Apparently I have to go to Tasmania, buy this game on his account, play and platinum this game for him on his behalf.
And then sprinkle the ashes of the game.
And then,
on Dylan's
burn
grave.
the digital copy of this game. So this game is called Butter and Friends Babysitter Sim.
Okay.
So, this game has 1 platinum and 11 golds.
Yep.
And the trophies include unlock all the babies, successfully babysit 4 babies in 1 sitting, successfully babysit with 4 sitters, successfully babysit without ever having exhausted your hand.
Oh my gosh.
The trophy list goes on. But have a baby return home after being dropped by an abductor just outside a doorway. What? This game looks fantastic for you trophy hunters. It just looks like a game that you're going to get the trophies in, and it's a whole lot of golds and a platinum. I don't know the price point of this game. If this game, as long as this game isn't... Well, I was going to say the price is right for this game, but we all know, in the memory of Dylan Blight, that kid will buy anything and play it to platinum in.
Yes, he certainly will.
He has kept the Wonder Book.
He sought it out. He's got the whole collection.
He sorted out. He found it. He died with the Wonder Book.
Here we go. I found a description.
You found a description?
Yep.
Go for it.
Babysit Butter and his friends in the ultimate babysitter simulation. Keep an eye out for sneaky abductors who first peer in through the windows before stepping through the doors. Use your single floating hand to grab babies away from the abductors' clutches, but be careful not to hold on to them for too long. Your hand might become exhausted. If an abductor should snatch one of your precious babies, though, don't worry. Use your hand to smack the baddie until they drop the baby. Enjoy a hectic fast for 1 to 4 players as you babysit 1 to 4 babies at a time.
This has made more questions than answers. Question number 1. Why are you in such a bad neighborhood where there's so many abductors? Question number 2. Why do parents keep leaving the babies with you? Question 3, the most important question.
Why do you have floating hands?
Well, not only why do you have floating hands, why are you only using 1 floating hand?
That is a good point.
It only ever mentions 1 floating hand. What? You will not be an efficient babysitter with a hand tied behind your back or doing whatever knows. That's between you and whoever. But, I have no idea.
Sounds like a great PS Plus launch game.
As was mentioned last week, PlayStation start putting out a special category in PS Plus.
Easy plats, yeah.
Trophy plats.
Look at that art style. Look at that awesome art style. There's
a
hawk.
Fantastic.
There's a hawk. Why would you not want?
That's what I want when I want
for
my PS Plus games. I want some games I can play on my Vita with easy platinums. That's all I really want.
So what I want you to do, I will resurrect Dylan Blight at some point around, because I'm not playing this game. I'll bring him back as soon as when this game comes out. What you're going to do is you're going to use that brilliant PlayStation 5.0 firmware. You're going to follow Viva La Deal on PlayStation. And then the moment you see him playing this game, you tweet at him shame. Shame on you, man. And then finally, the last game I want to discuss for our trophies. Absolver comes out this week. And I am super excited. The trophy list is not terrible. It's not amazing, but it'll do.
Do you care about trophies, Ciaran? I thought you didn't.
I used to, and then realised I was not playing games for fun anymore because I had to put trophy.
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
Yeah.
You were trying
I trophied
too hard.
I have like 5 platinums, and I was like, I can't want to do this anymore. I just want to play games to enjoy stories and have fun. But listen to me when I tell you how good trophy lists are, because I can tell you all right. I
don't care about them anymore, but I know when
I know when they're good. It's like somebody who has stopped eating McDonald's. He knows when that Big Mac's a good Big Mac. You know, you can look at him and be like, damn straight, that's a good Big Mac there.
Does anybody ever stop?
Absolver, 1 platinum, 7 golds, 9 silvers, 6 bronzes. It looks doable. It's a lot of my problem with these games is multiplayer and multiplayer games.
You've got no friends.
Well,
Yeah.
I do have a friend. Speaking of me having a friend, check out later this week, I believe Wednesday night,
Yeah.
let Ashley and me play Absolver together.
Yeah, should
And
be.
you've got no problem
Yay!
with those trophies.
I grabbed.
There is a little problem, but what are you gonna do
We've-
about it?
We've been lucky enough that we've been sent codes for the game, even though it's on PC. But we've been lucky enough to be sent codes for the game. Thank you. But I grabbed one code, and then there was a bit of a fight because nobody wanted to play it with me. And then Ash is such a nice guy that he was like, "Oh, I guess I'll do it.
I guess I'll take the free game.
I'll take it." It was that's how Dylan died, because Dylan was my first choice, and I was like, "No, I'm in that. No way, no way in hell."
Should we save Lost Legacy trophy talk for the spoiler cast?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. I haven't had it on this list because I wanted to talk about them in the discussion, even though not a great trophy list. Not a great.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about it.
We'll argue about that.
Trophy list.
Tune in.
Not a good trophy list. Tune in, where I kill another member of the Explosion Network live on video.
Just head over to Twitter right now at ExplosionPod. Hopefully it's on its way.
Just tweet
it's
at
not there-
Viva La Dill.
Just tweet.
Yeah.
What are you
tweet at
doing?
Viva La Dill. Just say, "Is it done yet?
Yeah.
Is it done yet?" Just be like, "Is it done yet?" And that is hashtag every trophy counts. Thank you very much for joining me, lads.
Thank
Where
you.
can our dedicated fans find you both?
You can find me
Ashley.
on Twitter at Ashley Hobley,
Ashley.
ASHLEYHOBLEY. Sorry, I just jumped in.
No, you just jumped in and took Jono.
I
You were already
need people to
preparing
know
for-
where I
You're
am.
preparing for Jono to be gone. I understand. He's a ghost of a man already.
I wanted Ash to go first. That's okay. You can find me on Twitter at Jono himself.
Find him at Jono himself. And I am at your boy Ringo, your true host that sometimes lets Dylan host instead of me. Please check us out. Have a good day.
Plat plat.
Plat plat.
This August on the Explosion Network. If you want more of this good stuff, check us out every week on podcast services and YouTube. Pleasure Explosion, the original Explosion pod, goes up every Monday. Our PlayStation podcast, Platinum Explosion, hits on Tuesdays. And we get into some sports discussion with grandstand gurus each and every Thursday. Make sure to keep up with explosionnetwork.com for all the latest content, including weekly stream schedules, reviews and reacts, plus our Game of Thrones reaction show, South of King's Landing. Plat plat.